Absolutely. And let me know if you want me to jump in on any slides too.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, if you want to jump in and add anything, feel free anytime. So welcome to the Spring Council of Treasurers meeting. Today we're kind of going to get started, or we're basically going to kind of talk about transitioning to be treasurer. I don't know, Emma and JMM, are you guys current treasurers? Are you looking to be a treasurer? Like, where are you guys at in that situation? Or did you just come for fun? Okay, current treasurer. For fun. Okay, and one for next year. Perfect. Okay, so we got kind of both here. Let me go to the next slide. Well, if both of you are interested in finance, we have the finance committee. I'm a part of that, and so is Nicole. And then Ethan, who should be here at some point, is also on the committee, but applications are still open, Nicole? Yep, so if you want to join the finance committee, it's super fun. Yeah, I don't know if you want to plug that anymore, but
I'll drop the link in the chat.
okay, sounds good. But we're always looking for people interested in finance and stuff like that. So if you would like, feel free to apply. These are just some of the charges that the committee works on. We work with the executive director to review biannual audit, research organizations and clubs at community colleges, and kind of make recommendations to reassess the dues at those chapters. And we do the same thing with international chapters as well. That's something that we were recently working on this past week. We encourage the facilitating and collaboration of treasurers, which is what we're doing right now. And then we assist with the Freedom by Design Committee, and then collaborate with the AIAS partnerships and making sure that those fundraising efforts are aligned with our values. So just kind of stuff all finance related. So basically a rundown of today's meeting. We're going to do an icebreaker. We're going to talk about what makes being a treasurer so fun, and then what does that being a treasurer look like, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about transitioning the treasurer, and then some of the resources that we have, and then we'll have some time for questions if you guys have any. Okay, so for the icebreaker, because some of us, it's kind of like Beaux Arts Ball season. The question is, what is your dream Beaux Arts Ball theme? I can go first. I don't know if I've really thought about this too much. Last year, I was kind of in charge of planning our Beaux Arts Ball, and our theme was masquerade. So that was really fun. And it was kind of like more formal and stuff. And we had a lot of people like decorate their own masks, which was really cool. But I also think like some sort of like 1920s like Art Deco theme might be cool as well. So if anyone else has an idea on the top of their head, feel free.
I could go
Okay.
next, and
Go
then
ahead,
maybe we could do
Nicole.
popcorn.
Sure.
I think I'm a little basic, or I don't know, I like aesthetics. So if everyone came in their favorite color, that'd be cool, and then we all take a picture and like be a rainbow. I don't know. It's a little cheesy, but it could be like Pantone themed or whatever. And I'll popcorn it to Emma. And feel free to put it in the chat or unmute.
I don't know. For our Beaux Arts Ball, we actually did Art Deco this year. So that was really fun. But I really don't know, because not a lot of people like actually did the theme, which was a little but I think actually doing like a 1920s like theme would be really fun. Like sort of all like the flapper stuff. That'd be really fun.
And do you want to popcorn someone, Emma?
Tristan.
Nice.
All right, so I've been to so many Art Deco Beaux Arts balls that I was on a plane last night and I had an inspiration. I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean, so I think it would make no sense, but it'd be very fun to just have like a pirate theme and just everyone's different type of pirates. I don't know, would not work though, so don't quote me on that. and then we'll go to JMM, Jim. Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they want to do around the theme of recent ages and Lego theme. That'd be cool. You got to play the Lego movie in the background the entire time. Sorry, I don't make the rules.
That would be cool. Or like a Minecraft one too.
Yes. You got to play those old like 2012 Minecraft music videos.
That would be funny.
Nice. I come as Chewbacca.
Okay, and then I think we had one more person join us.
I think she joined and then jumped out. It was Benta.
Okay, okay.
Hi.
I'm
Maybe she'll join again.
okay, I missed that. Okay. Oh no, my slides. Okay, there we are. Okay, so we'll just get started with kind of the meeting, or oh my gosh, I keep hitting thing. Okay. So we'll get started with kind of like what being a treasurer, like what kind of basics you kind of need. So first and foremost is finance forward thinking. So kind of getting to learn about money. That's a big role of the treasurer, obviously. And then a huge perk to being a treasurer is getting to understand like how to make a budget, balancing a budget sheet, that you can apply to so many other aspects of your life. It's going to be really helpful in the future workforce and then just in your personal life as well. And we were just thinking about how many of the tasks are similar. Tasks assigned to the treasurer are really similar to running a small business with income and expenses needing to be monitored. So like if you want to eventually open your own firm, this would be a really great opportunity for you to kind of get your foot in the door about understanding how things are operated. So as the treasurer, you're typically the one that people will on the board will call for help. You are going to be the member that is holding the board accountable and informed on all the financial matters. You have to make sure that the chapter is in good standing, financially at least, and then just ensuring that the health of the chapter is strong with that. You'll talk probably with your faculty advisor on how to address difficult conversations. And then like if you're having issues with finances, sorry if it gets loud, I'm out in the hallway. My studio room got pretty loud, so I wanted to come out here. But then you'll also work with the board and probably your faculty advisor as well to kind of set realistic goals for the organization, how much you want to fundraise, how much you want to spend, where you kind of want your bank account set. And kind of just what you think is best for the chapter. Like I said, you're going to be the school liaison, but every school is different. We have high school, community college, and university chapters, and all of those operate a lot differently. So having a good relationship with your school administration, whoever that is, again, every school is different. So some schools might run through the greater university, but I know at my chapter, like we kind of run through the School of Architecture, and that's something that you can talk to your advisor about, or even people from the national board, and they can help you get that situated. The school will likely keep you in the loop about opportunities, and if not, then you have to be the one to kind of keep reaching out and stuff like that. That's pretty much it on the school stuff. But also, we just wanted to remind you that finance can be fun. These are some pictures. The big one is from the Beaux Arts Ball at the Midwest Quad Conference, which was really fun. And then the other two are from my chapters this past weekend. So doing finance, being the treasurer and stuff, you get to do fun stuff like this as well. Some people might find finance fun, which maybe you guys do because you are the current treasurers or want to be treasurers. So there's a whole bunch of like fundraising things you can do. I won't go through all of this list of stuff, but I know my chapter has done most of this stuff Hello, Ethan. So we can talk about this more if you guys have any questions on specifics, like how you would run these events or even what they are. But a lot of these have been successful in a lot of the current chapters. So I think like when we do our Bow Arts Ball, we pretty much make all of the money back that we spent, which is really cool. Let's see, most of our chapter funds come from like calendar sales that we do every year, but I know a lot of other chapters get a lot of money by doing like apparel and mugs and stuff like that. Also, Ethan, if you think I miss anything, just feel free to jump in.
No, you're doing amazing.
Okay, anyway, so we just kind of wanted to outline the responsibilities that you have as the treasurer. These are from our bylaws, I believe. But some of the fiduciary responsibilities require board members to stay objective, unselfish, responsible, honest, and trustworthy and efficient. They always have to act for the good of the organization rather than benefit themselves, and have to exercise reasonable care in decision making without placing the organization under unnecessary risk. So just kind of common sense stuff that you need to implement when you are the treasurer. Council of Treasurers. So that's what you guys are at now. So already made it, but it's just kind of a way to encourage networking between chapter treasurers. You guys can come to these sessions if you guys are having any difficulties or want any new ideas on how to better your finances for the chapter. So look out for more opportunities for the rest of the year, and we'll discuss kind of more topics as they come up. So we just have a couple like key terms that would be good to know if you're an incoming treasurer. So just kind of a budget, which is a forward-looking projection of the revenue and expenses based on the past performances, and then an estimation on kind of what you're going to do in the future. And it's a static document, meaning once it's approved, it doesn't really change. But just because something is in the budget does not mean it will happen, and things can get added later. So it can kind of it can kind of be fluid. And this is something that you would probably talk to the rest of the board about, kind of see what their plans are for the year, and stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of just to build a little bit off of that. First off, there is, and I believe it isn't later on in the presentation, a resource for this. But yeah, a budget tends to be something that's kind of decided at the beginning, usually during like a board retreat or something like that. And it isn't really adjusted throughout the rest of the year. You just put on your actuals next to it and kind of compare where you fall. If it's your first year making a budget, that's totally okay if it doesn't end up being that accurate by the end of the year. But that will in turn educate next year's budget so that the next treasurer can kind of see, oh, this is how far we were off. Let's adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, yeah, the biggest part is not that the budget is actually accurate. It's just making sure that you guys aren't like overspending or anything. Budgeting 101. I guess we kind of talked about this, but planning out all of the events, either within the whole year or even just the semester, and kind of being over realistic with what you're going to need. So kind of overestimating what you'll need to make sure that you don't spend too much, but also setting realistic standards for income versus expenses, kind of being conservative in your estimations, to make sure that you guys aren't spending too much. And then this budget will probably influence the fundraising strategies you decide to do for the year. So how you guys are raising that money. And then specifically within a Freedom by Design project, you can work closely with the client when you're budgeting for the project, and reach out to the Freedom by Design liaison for help if you need that. So, and then just be smart in general. I've talked about that several times, but it's just making sure that the chapter stays in good standing, financial standing.
Yeah, and I'll also add that it can also influence when like that influencing a fundraising strategy for the year. It can also very much influence whether an event is a fundraiser or just an event. So I know a lot of chapters do firm visits. And if you are realizing that your chapter is in need of a little bit of funds, you can oftentimes charge non-members or even members if need be to attend those firm visits as a fundraising source as well. So don't feel like if an event has always been just an event previously, that there isn't a way to turn it into a fundraiser if need be.
Mhm. Good thought, Ethan. Oh, okay. Well, so being your own banker, so some kind of tips and tricks, I'll try and read this, but I'm not sure. Maybe, okay, thanks. Okay. So bank accounts need to be created by the chapter, not an individual person. So making sure that the bank account isn't in your name as the treasurer, but it's in the name of the chapter. And you might have to talk to your school about this, but so reach out to probably your faculty advisor should know, or previous treasurers would definitely know. But the bank accounts also should only list the chapter address, not the national address. So likely that's probably the address of your school. And it would be really nice if you are able to find a bank account that has digital access, just because that makes chapter finances a lot easier. And then you should be able to give access to the treasurer, the president, and the advisor, just to make sure that there are multiple people on that account. If anything happens, anyone gets locked out and stuff like that, and to make sure that other people are seeing that money. Ethan, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I would just say, as someone who's gone through the process of making a bank account and whatnot, please make sure you check all of these before making a bank account. It'll make the process go so much smoother if, you accidentally put the national office address. Well, now you have to get in touch with the national office and say, hey, we need this change, but it's under your address, or hey, are you getting mail for our bank account because we put your address? Just a lot of things and can go wrong if you don't kind of follow these. And also, the national office just moved offices. So I really hope that you all checked to make sure that your bank account address is yours and not the old national office, which is now under construction. Yeah, just some really good things to keep in mind when creating a bank account.
Can you, hi, I have a quick
Mhm.
question.
Mhm.
On set, or maybe if you're getting into it on the next slide, but just more details on the process of setting up a bank account for the chapter. I kind of came into our organization just having like cash and Venmo transfers between individuals, and it's all very like informal, and I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit, but also make sure that it can carry over into a new year if a new treasurer comes in, so that it's not necessarily tied to just me. So if you could expand on that a little bit, it would be really helpful because I'm in the process right now.
Yeah. Lauren, if you don't mind, I can vet this question. Awesome.
I have not set up a bank account with the chapter, so
Yeah, no. I guess one of the follow-up questions is, does your school allow you to have private bank accounts, or do they require you to have a bank account with the school? Just that'll help educate.
Yeah, we would be able to have a private bank account for the chapter.
Awesome. I will say that is definitely the preferred out of any option, because that gives you complete control over your bank account. But the way I would do, if you have a trusted banking individual, I know for the University of Kansas, we use US Bank, but you don't have to use that company if you don't want to. You can use whatever banking company you would like. But I would say, for starters, just set up an interview, or not an interview, kind of an interview with them to talk about, like, is this an option? Let it clear that you're a chapter of a nonprofit organization and not starting your own nonprofit. That will be a really big one, and that's kind of a big hurdle that we had to go when I was creating the bank account for KU, was clarifying that we are not trying to create our own nonprofit. We do not need the bank to create their own 501c3 number. All we need to do is just associate this bank account with the pre-existing 501c3. The bank themselves should be able to answer a lot of the questions that you ask as far as like documents needed. I would send an email before the meeting just saying like, hey, can you please give me a list of all of the documents that you were requesting. They might need to see different proof of information. I know our bank every year when we turn over, the president requires to see meeting minutes as proof that like the turnover meeting officially happened, and legally the bank has no liability to giving another person access to that bank account because we've shown proof that that turnover has happened. There's a lot of other things going on with that. I would say if you get in the meeting, please feel free to access Nicole or I during that meeting, and we can make sure that we get those documents to you. Every single bank is going to be a little bit different on what documents they request because each bank has their own procedures, but we should be able to access that. Additionally, towards the end of this, we do have a resource alert going on, or a resource alert folder that has a list of all of that. In there, they have the tax identification, nonprofit status, and other financial forms. A lot of the requested documents and forms that a bank is going to ask can be found in there. It is password protected, but again, if you need that information during the meeting, contact Nicole or I, and we can get you that password. But yeah, it's incredibly scary in the short term, and I understand that because it's like, man, I'm like a college student trying to not only adult for myself and have my own personal bank account, but now I have to worry about making another chapter or making a chapter bank account, which is a lot bigger. But it isn't as scary as you think. I'd say, again, just that first step is either calling the bank or emailing them and saying, hey, we're a student organization at XYZ University. We'd like to set up a bank account with you that falls under a nonprofit that already exists. And that should get the ball rolling, and they should be able to help you with that. I don't know if Nicole has any preferred bank that we work through. Again, KU, we use US Bank, but
Yeah, I'll just mention a lot of the other situation with banks or like choosing banks is that it's regional. So even if you did offer something, like it might not be closest to you or might be like 5 hours away. So it really depends on like what's the proximity, you know. But I'll just say that the national offices use PNC, but I do understand that's I think a northeastern bank. So yeah.
yeah. So whatever bank you feel most comfortable, your chapter feels most comfortable with. And do
I
feel
think the key clarification there is just that I would need to provide the national office's tax ID and nonprofit status information, and you're saying that's in a kind of a protected place, but somewhere
Yep.
I could access if I follow up with you on over email potentially after the
Yeah.
meeting, or what would be the best way to get a hold of those documents?
I would say go ahead and email. You can email Nicole and I. And then I believe also if you are a chapter president and you go on the COP drive, or if you have access to the chapter email, you also have access to those files as well through the finance section of the national resources. But yeah, I would say email us. We can get that document to you. And the website for it is actually coming up in 2 slides. So again, I'm happy you asked this question because it is very pertinent to the slides we're going over. But yeah,
And just to make sure that finance@aias.org is the address to reach out to.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much.
yeah, that is a great question.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, Ethan, you kind of talked about this already, but just I guess to reinforce, don't open the chapter, your chapter's own nonprofit. We already have that. And then we'll talk about that, where to get that in the next slide. And then don't also file for LLC status. And just when in doubt, please ask. So. And here are those resources that Ethan was talking about. So they're over on, like if you go to the AIAS website, and then go to the resources tab, and then they're under the finance tab. So there's lots of different things in there. There's So You're the Treasurer Guide, which is like a kind of much more thorough outline to this. And then just a bunch of data logs, and then the tax ID, nonprofit status, and other forms are also in there. And then here's that tax info. We are a 501c3 organization. That second bullet point is our tax exempt number. And you don't have to file any taxes. Nationals does that every year. And then the tax exemption letter does not apply to state taxes. And then some forms are password protected. So reach out to the national office to get those password things. So yeah. And then a W-9, you'll use that when you're receiving a service. So the service provider is responsible for filing the taxes on the payment. They might ask you to fill out the W-9 form. And you can distribute that upon request, but never proactively. And then examples of when this would be used: if you were consulting for a Freedom by Design project, consulting with someone, or catering services like for a Bow Arts Ball or something like that. And then here is the balance sheet guides. So Ethan was talking about the COP guide. On there are sheets to kind of sheets that kind of show a example budget and stuff like that. I don't know, Ethan, if you have more details on that.
Yeah, so I would say when in doubt, if you're looking for a finance resource, go to the National Drive, National Resources Finance first. That should have a lot of the documents and information that you need. And then if you can't find it there, of course, feel free to reach out to us through the finance@aias.org email. But yeah, this is the one that we're referencing here specifically is just an annual budget. Kind of like I mentioned previously, if you've never started a budget, this is a great resource to start with. It has everything already categorized for you. Everything on the Excel document is already formatted, so it automatically gives you your nets and your expenses and your things as soon as you put in the data quantities. So highly recommend utilizing this if you aren't already. A lot of universities will also request that you submit a budget to them if you are asking for funds for anything. And I have yet to get this rejected by any university. So it's a great place to start for that as well.
And like we were saying earlier, when in doubt, just ask. You can contact the Vice President Nicole, Executive Director, the Finance Committee, which is that finance@aias.org, or your other respective directors. So if you're in the Middle East or Latin America, or any of the quads in the US. And then we have briefly
would you mind just flipping back so I could screenshot that?
Totally.
Yeah, and I'll just mention that for every COT that we have, we always create a recap post that includes the slides and any important information. We also remind everyone who didn't come of that the recap exists, so it's available too.
Awesome, and I got it, so thank you so much.
No problem. Here's kind of a brief plug for the So You're the Treasurer guide. It's kind of like this document that outlines a lot of frequently asked questions about transitioning, some of the roles and responsibilities as treasurer, budgeting, and chapter banking, best practices, and then even an event prep as well. So you can find that on the website too.
And I will say one of the questions in the council and the So You're the Treasurer guides does go over banking. So if you like I know we were talking about earlier, have questions about banking, check there as well. I believe one of the questions is how do I set up a bank account? So if you have any Ethan didn't clarify this enough, it might clarify it in there as well.
And I think that is all we have. Oh, any questions? I'll give one more plug for the Finance Committee and then I'll stop sharing. And you guys can ask questions, but I can't see you guys. But anyway, okay. Any questions?
Yeah, and they don't have to be questions about stuff that we specifically covered in the presentation. If you have questions about literally anything finance related, or if your chapter is struggling with something, or if you are trying to turn over the treasurer, which and no one's applying for the treasurer position, I have some great ways to hype up the position. I personally am in love with the treasurer position. I honestly wish I could still be treasurer of my chapter, but I can't. So yeah, any questions, comments?
I guess.
Just
Oh, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
just sorry. I just wanted to say it's kind of like really great how y'all laid out like the different roadblocks that you could probably encounter in like running that particular position. Just thank you for sharing that information, because I'm not really in deep with like the administration of like the chapter, but knowing that this structure is in place kind of just makes me a little bit much more confident in how things are being run, and probably get into it at some point in time when I finish my drawings.
I feel that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you have found like some help in that. So
Alexander, did you have a question as well?
Yeah, I guess just a bit of, so I haven't set up the bank account, right? So I've been using, like, I set up just in a pinch, I set up like a business Venmo account tied to my personal Venmo account so that I could have a separate Venmo account to receive payments for like fundraising and stuff. And it worked, well all year. It was kind of annoying because there was like a tax that would be taken out every time a payment went through. So it was always like 14, 15, whatever. But I guess I just hit a limit where now it's become like I need to file taxes on the payments that have been coming in because we hit a certain like threshold, I guess, that the IRS flags with a Venmo business banking account. So or Venmo, yeah, business Venmo account. So because we're like still receiving payments and stuff for like our Beaux Arts ball coming up and some other fundraising we're doing, I just kind of put in like, it asks for like my social security number and my personal information. So I kind of all of a sudden have this like business Venmo account that I have to now file taxes for because we've done enough fundraising throughout the year that it's become like relevant to the IRS. So I guess my question is, have you come across that before? And is there a way for me to like backtrack out of that situation? Or do I just have to kind of eat the process of filing taxes this year and then get things better organized for next year so that this doesn't happen again?
I'm going to defer to Nicole because I have not heard of this situation yet.
No worries. This situation, so stuff like this, like, was it in 2021 or something along those lines? I don't know if maybe just because I was like getting all the notifications, but it was a new thing that like Venmo and all of those types of like Cash App, PayPal, things like that have started to implement, and then IRS like just being more regulatory towards them. So we haven't had any examples of like, chapters or students reaching out to it, but we were like, this seems like this is going to be a problem in the future. We should probably mitigate it as much as possible. So that's why we have like all these events and programming. I could check in with my ED or like the AIAS's executive director to see if there's anything we could help with. But it seems like because it's through Venmo and all of that, like you're just gonna have to for this year, like file the taxes, and then next year just like remove it and have that bank account, as you mentioned. But it just sucks because like as the rules change, like we also have to adapt and change to it. So however Venmo and all these other apps or like, finance apps work, like the AIS house has like learn and adjust. So yeah, but I'll check in with my executive director to see if there's any like way we could help mitigate or backtrack.
Okay, and even if it's just guidance on proper filing, like I think everything, all the relevant charges have come through in the new year, so I'm not going to have to file on them until like next April, so I have like plenty of time, which is good. But I just want to make sure that I handle that process correctly. It's only on a matter of like $1,000 or like $1,200 or something like that. It's not like a ton, but yeah, I just want to make sure I don't accidentally like defraud the IRS and get in trouble for like the Beaux Arts ball.
Of course. And what chapter again?
Rhode Island School of Design.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and then I would just say as soon as you get that new bank account set up, just switch it over to a different Venmo account that has that listed as its, and just have it service as a personal bank account or as a personal Venmo. You don't need to set it
Yes,
up
absolutely.
as a business. But
Yeah, I have a piece of advice on that one. Set up a Zelle account with that bank account. That way you don't really have to use Venmo anymore. At our chapter, we used it with with Zelle. You can sign up with a phone number or email. I recommend just using the chapter email because phone numbers change all the time. They can be tied to your personal account. So that's one recommendation, just to get away from Venmo. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of international students, so we already use Zelle for like half of the payments that we get anyway, because a lot of them don't have Venmo. So totally agree about that piece. Thank you all so much, by the way. This is like has been stressing me out so much, and I needed to talk to someone. So I'm really thankful that you set this up.
yeah, no worries. That's what it's all about. So that's what the COT is all about. So any other questions? All right. Favorite food? Ooh. Yeah, absolutely. If you have to head out, please feel free to head out. I don't know if Nicole, if you want to end the recording then, if this is still in session.